Hi, shalom everyone. Welcome to this Bible reading. Today's video, I'm going to read Genesis chapter 37. And this is about the life of Joseph. Let me read to you the life of Joseph in this chapter. And I type here, what is the dream of Joseph? And why Joseph was sold by his brother? These are the two questions that we are going to answer as I'm going to read the Word of God from this chapter. Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob through Rachel, her wife. It is the first son of Rachel, and he has a brother, Benjamin. Rachel has two sons, Joseph and Benjamin. And the other sons of Jacob was from Leah, Bilhah, and Silpah. But Rachel is the one that Jacob loved. He loved Rachel when he go in Haran. He worked for Laban for 14 years in return to Rachel. In return to the daughter of Laban, Rachel, he worked for 14 years. He worked for 7 years at first, but then after the wedding ceremony or celebration, the bridal week, Laban gave Leah instead of Rachel because it's not customary to them. It's not their custom to give the youngest in marriage before the oldest. So that's what happened. So he married Leah, and then he worked again another 7 years in return to Rachel. So he worked for 14 years to marry Rachel. But all those 14 years, the Word of God says that it was just it seems like only a few days to Jacob because of his love to Rachel. And so Joseph was his son through Rachel. And it says here in chapter 37, verse 1, Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. His father stayed in Isaac, stayed in Canaan, and also his grandfather Abraham. This is the account of Jacob. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flock. With his brother, the son of Bilhah and the son of Silpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. In verse 3, so Joseph was just 17 here, 17 years old, and he was tending his brothers. He's tending the flock together with his brothers. And in verse 3 it says here, now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he has been born to him in his old age, and he made a richly ornamented robe for him. So it says here that Jacob loved his son Joseph. Joseph has been loved by his father. Why? Because it says here that he was born in his old age. And so he loved him, and his love was shown by what he did. He gave. Love always express in something, in giving. So he gave him. He made a richly ornamented robe for him. So he gave richly ornamented robe for Joseph. In verse 4 it says here, when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. So their brother is jealous about him. Their brother saw that his father loved him more than any of them, and so they hated him. They hated him, and it says here that they cannot speak a kind word to him. So we can see here that when you hate someone, hate make people not to speak kind words. If someone cannot speak kind words to you, or that they hated you, only in this chapter, in this chapter, this is one way that hate. When there is hate, no gracious speech. They are not kind. They are not gracious to the person they hate. They speak harsh word. Or in verse 5, Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brother, they hated him all the more. So here is Joseph. He was loved by his father, but he was hated by his brothers because his father loved him more than any of them, and his father gave them a richly ornamented robe. Then he told them a dream. Joseph told his dream. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brother, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheep gathered around mine and bowed down to it." So if we can see into this picture, here is the sheaves of grain, and there the sheaf of the grain of Joseph there standing, and the others are bowing down. That's the dream of Joseph, his first dream. His brother said, in verse 8, his brother said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. In verse 9, then he had another dream, and he told it to his brother. "Listen," he said, "I had another dream. And this time the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me." So here is in another picture. When he told his father as well as his brother, his father When he told his father as well as his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brother actually come and bow down to the ground before you?" His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. So this is the two dreams of Joseph. So what is the dream of Joseph? Here's the dream of Joseph in this picture. The sheaf, the sheaf of grain for Joseph is standing and all is bowing down. And also there the moon and the stars. It says here that they are bowing down to him. The stars, the moon, the sun are bowing down to him. So this is the dream of Joseph, and like it's really happened. No, well, I mean what their brother says. Are you going to rule over us? But this is already like a prophecy, or God is showing what happened in the future. A guidance. Sometimes dreams are like vision, and dreams are used for warning and guidance. Yeah? It will foretold what will happen. It's like it will guide you. It's guidance. It tells. So after Joseph told this dream, all the more that their brother hate hate him, and they were jealous of him. Even his father, he rebuked him, but his father kept this thing, the dream of Joseph, in his heart. He kept the matter to him. So this is the dream of Joseph. So in verse 12, it says here, the title, Joseph was sold by his brother. So in verse 12, now his brother had gone to graze their father's flock near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, "As you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I am going to send you to them." "Very well," he replied. So he said to him, "Go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me." Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the field and asked him, "What are you looking for?" He replied, "I am looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks?" "They have moved on from here," the man answered. "I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. So their brothers are usually grazing in Shechem or in Dothan. So his father Jacob said, "Joseph, go and..." He sent his son Joseph, "Go and look after your brothers. See how they are doing with the flocks, and come and report. No? Come back and report to me. Then you come back and tell me what they are doing." It's like a messenger. No? He sent his son Joseph, but his son did not come back because So Joseph go, and there he go to see his brothers. He is also obedient to his father, Jacob. So in verse 18, but they saw him in distance. So, but they saw him in distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. So they plotted to kill Joseph. When they saw Joseph, they already planned. Oh, they planned to kill him. Here comes that dreamer, they said to each other. Come, let's kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams. When Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. Let's not take his life, he said. Don't shed any blood. Throw him into the cistern here in the desert, but don't lay a hand on him. Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. So they plan to kill Joseph, but Reuben says that do not kill him. Let's throw him into this cistern. And so in verse 23, so Joseph came to his brother. They stripped him of his robe, the richly ornamented robe he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. It's a well. It's like a pit. And then they throw him there. Reuben says, do not kill him. At first they plan to just kill him. But then Reuben said, no, let's not shed blood, but let's do not kill him. Let's just throw him into the pit. Reuben cannot this. Reuben is the firstborn. Why he also hate him? He doesn't want him to be killed, but he don't have this authority over his brother to rebuke them. No, he's the firstborn. But no, even he was firstborn. In the previous chapter, we have read that. I have read that. I've shared there that one thing learned from Reuben is his sin. His sin. He defiled his father's bed by committing adultery with his father's wife. And so it brings demotion. You no longer excel. His father said in 49, if we see his blessing to all his son. So even in here, it really, you don't have this authority. You don't have to rule his brothers. Reuben said this to rescue, don't shed any blood through him. So in verse 23, so when Joseph came to his brother, they stripped him of his robe, the richly ornamented robe he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty, there was no water in it. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ismaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spice, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brother, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelite and not lay our hand on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brother agreed. So when the Midianite merchant came by his brother, so when the Midianite merchants came by, his brother pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelite who took him to Egypt. When Reuben re- So here Joseph was sold. Joseph was sold in Egypt by his brothers. It is Judah. At first, Reuben wanted to rescue him by just saying, "Throw him into the cistern." And here's Judah said, "Oh," when they saw that there are caravans of the Ishmaelite that's coming, and they say, Judah says, "Why not sold him? Let us sell him. After all, he's our brother, our own flesh and blood. Let us sold him." They say, and everyone, and then they agreed, and so they sold Joseph for 20 shekels. It's like Judas also that they Judas. I just remember Judas that he's about. Where I am now, I'm in verse 28. So they sold Joseph. Yeah, they sold Joseph to Egypt. Ishmaelite. These are the Ishmaelite, or it's their relatives. No, Ishmaelites are the descendant of Ismael, the son of Abraham. In verse 29, it says here, when Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. He went back to his brother and said, "The boy isn't there. Where can I turn now?" Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in blood. They took the ornament robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe." He recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "in mourning will I go down to the grave to my son." So his father wept for him. Verse 36, while the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. So Joseph was sold. They sold So they sold Joseph, and when this Midianite, Ismailite, go to Egypt, they sold Joseph to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's official, a captain of the guard. So this is the last chapter, verse 36, 37 has 36 chapter. And so this is what happened. The sons of Jacob, they deceived Jacob. They deceive him, no? They get the ornament clothes of Joseph, and then they tip it. They slaughter a goat. It says here that they slaughter a goat, and they tip the ornament clothes, and then they bring it back to their father, and they deceive their father. Uh, they say that see these clothes, see it, if you can recognize it. So what Jacob know is Joseph was been torn by wild animals. So this is Joseph. He was loved by his father, but he was hated by his brothers. Why? Because his father loved him more than any of them. Why his father loved him? Because he was born to him. It was said here in the word of God that he was born to him in his old age. That's why his father loved him. And because because they hated him, sometimes hate will drive his brother to do evil. It's because of their hate. So because they hate him, they they, they plan to kill him. Hate will always the hate always drives. It drives. Hate is always drive people to kill, murder. When there is murder, it's because there is hate. So this is what happens. Murder, hate will cause someone to murder. So they murder him because they hated him. And because they hated him also, they cannot even speak a kind word to him. So we can see also the suffering of Jacob from his brothers. It's sometimes the word of God is true, even in the life of Joseph. A man's enemies is a member of his household. His brother become his enemies. But all the things that happen in his life, even if we continue to read the life of Joseph here, it's very interesting. The bad thing that happened to Joseph, the bad thing, the negative thing, God turned it into a positive thing. God turned the negative into positive. I have heard some preaching also about Joseph even before. Sometimes they also say it represent the Lord. Anyway, it was sent by. He was sent. Anyway, that is the story here in Genesis chapter 37. This is the first part that was happened in the life of Joseph. Can you relate? Can you relate in his life? Is there anything in your life that you can relate with the experience of Joseph? This is only the first part of Joseph's life, and we can see how God raised him up even in this dream that he has, and the dream that he has been fulfilled, even as we read in the following chapter 39 to 40, when he became the ruler of Egypt. So the story of Joseph is very interesting, and I hope that you will continue on to listen for the next videos. I'm going also to share until um, until Genesis 50. So this is the life of Joseph, and may God bless you all. See you again in the next video. Genesis chapter 38.